ECOWAS to develop more strategies towards improving agricultural productivity in the region. Legal luminary urges federal and state governments to create conducive environment for business to thrive in Nigeria. Thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I am Ifeanyi Okafor. On our lead story, President Muhammadu Buhari has left Abuja for Marrakesh, Morocco, ahead of the conference of the parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president, accompanied by the governors of Plateau and Jigawa states, was seen off at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at about 4 o'clock Monday evening by the Minister of the FCT, Mohammed Musa Bello, Deputy Minority Whip of the Senate, Senator Philip Aduda, and other senior government officials. While at the conference, the president is expected to highlight the unwavering commitment of Nigeria towards implementing the national determined contributions and policy actions aimed at tackling climate change through environmental sustainable efforts. President Buhari will also use the occasion to rally international support for the cleanup of Ogoniland in the Niger Delta and the resuscitation of the Lake Chad Basin. He is also expected to attend the COP22 Africa Day commemoration with the theme Moving from Commitments to Action with Intended Nationally Determined Contributions and African Renewable Energy Initiative. Meanwhile, as the world converges on Morocco towards addressing the effect of climate change on the environment, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, is developing more strategies that will improve agricultural productivity in the region. The member countries are currently reviewing the impact of the Agricultural Productivity Program initiated by the ECOWAS in 2008 with the support of the World Bank to unlock the challenges of crop production in the region. Musa Babaliu has the report.
Expected to make presentation on the advantages and challenges of the program in their country. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says there are indications that the party may soon be over in the petroleum sector with increasing development in renewable energy. The Vice President was speaking at the launch of 3 books on the petroleum sector, authored by the Minister of Petroleum, Emmanuel Ibe Kachuku. State House correspondent Jide Onifade now reports.
As explained by the Vice President, the deregulation of the downstream sector and its continued challenges, vandalization of oil pipelines and export facilities, the drop in production, gas-to-power issues, and the imperative of local refining and empowering of indigenous operators are some of the critical issues the federal government has had to deal with.
As we move to diversify our economy, we are acutely aware that we need oil to get out of oil. Yet our window of opportunity to benefit maximally from the petroleum industry is narrowing.
Commenting on the author of the 3 books, Compendium of Oil Gas Cases in Nigeria, Legal Issues in the Nigerian Petroleum Industry, and the Petroleum Industry Bill, getting to the yes, Vice President Osinbajo says the Petroleum Minister has given more insight into what plays on in the sector.
Dr. Kachiku clearly took full advantage of the rare convergence of scholarship, contemporary experience, and policy wisdom to deliver what are probably today the most significant contributions to our understanding of major issues and nuances of the Nigerian petroleum industry.
Nayari of Zamfara State, Rochas Okorocha of Imo State, and Wale Tinubu presented the books to the public.
The author is a very brilliant and excellent person who is meaning the petroleum industry very, very, very well. And we as governors are going to give him every support to succeed.
We are producing a lot of students in this country who don't help our economy. So we should emphasize more on those critical areas.
We need to revamp our industry, and this book was about that.
I've recorded another milestone, towards the solution of the problems of the petroleum industry.
The inspiration is just to keep writing, and also to be able to show that, over and above whatever else we're doing today, there is life before and there's life after it, and we all have to continue to see what we leave behind. So I'm sure lots of scholars will look at some of these topics and develop more books, and we need them for institutions to grow.
Guests at the presentation of the books include state governors, legislators, members of the bar and bench, and players in the petroleum industry. From the Yaradua Conference Center in Abuja, Jide Onifate, NTA News.
Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu has cautioned government at various tiers against unrealistic presumption while taking decisions on community projects. He stated this when communities from his constituency paid him a courtesy call in Abuja.
The Deputy Senate President attributed failure of most community projects in the country to what he called inadequate understanding of the need of the people leaders are supposed to serve. He said the most important thing in democracy is constant engagement between the electorate and their leaders.
Identify the critical areas so that we'll start working with you, the local government. Let us provide as much water as possible for the people of that area.
Earlier, leaders of the visiting community said they are calling on the Deputy Senate President to express profound appreciation for the quality representation Ike Ekweremadu is giving to Enugu West Senatorial Zone, the Southeast, and Nigeria in the past 13 years.
The Ike Foundation, which you initiated even before your election to the Senate or the President of Nigeria, has changed the lives of many downtrodden.
In the meantime, the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund has carried out oversight visits to establishments under its purview. Essence of the visit, which includes University of Abuja, National Mathematical Center Abuja, and the National Open University, was to focus attention on internally generated revenue, the 2016 budget, as well as the completed and uncompleted project.
The fact that we are also moving out to cities for ourselves, we'll be able to compare what our experts will give us in respect to the analysis and what we're able to see on ground.
From the National Assembly, Wazir Zayan, NTA News.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the film industry is one of the sectors the government is banking on to create jobs and contribute largely to the nation's economy. Lai Mohammed said this at the opening of the 2016 Film Festival in Lagos. Annie Daniels reports.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed disclosed that the present administration is working very hard to ensure that its dream of diversifying the economy is achieved. To this end, the creative industry is one of the ways to go. He noted that the film industry has proven itself to be not just a great employer of labor, especially to young people, but also potentially a very high foreign exchange earner because of its international appeal and demand.
And I've seen 20th Century Fox executives here today. I've seen the biggest shakers and movers of the industry here today. I think it speaks volumes. And all the need for us to do is to provide the enabling environment for them.
He noted that President Muhammadu Buhari has publicly thrown his weight behind the creative industry to enable it to transit from a creative industry to a creative economy. This, he says, has translated to the federal government having talks with state governments and investors to build high-tech studio facilities that will meet international standards. Africa International Film Festival is an annual film festival organized in Nigeria. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
And turning to health matters, November 14 every year is World Diabetics Day. The day was launched in 1991 by the World Health Organization and the International Diabetics Federation, primarily for global awareness campaign focusing on diabetics mellitus in response to the rapid rise of the disease around the world. World Diabetics Day is being observed by over 230 International Diabetics Federation members association in more than 160 countries and territories, as well as other organizations, companies, health professionals, and people living with diabetics. The theme of this year's celebration is Eye on Diabetics. The theme is aimed at promoting the importance of screening to ensure early diagnosis of type 2 diabetics and treatment to reduce the risk of serious complication. Nigeria's defense attaches and advisors have been charged to develop a new outlook as the realities of the 21st century mandates they play a wider, overt and covert role in ensuring national security. Minister of Defense Mansour Dan Ali said this at the 2016 Defense Attaches and Advisors Annual Conference held in Abuja. Olajide Bello reports.
With the global security environment under relentless attacks by terrorists and criminals who are opposed to existing world order, Minister of Defense Mansour Dan Ali said this necessitated the need for military professionals to articulate new and effective means of tackling these prevailing challenges in the face of reduced resources.
It is obvious that the defense attaché system has contributed to upholding the national security of this country. The focus is now to provide more clarity and perspective so that much more can be achieved.
The minister reiterated that the recent successes against terrorism in Nigeria signify that more can be achieved with the right attitude, effort and political will. The Chief of Defense Intelligence, Air Vice Marshal Mohammed Usman, said the conference will provide a platform to harness ideas and innovations to address the security challenges being faced by the country.
Our idea is to have a system that is motivated, prudent, transparent, performance-oriented, and truly beneficial to Nigeria.
The conference is with the theme, Harnessing the Potentials of the Defense Attaché System for Improved National Security in Nigeria. In Abuja, Olajide Bello, NTA News.
In line with the administration's empowerment program, the federal government has commenced sensitization on modalities for the disbursement of 1.6 billion naira microloan to women in 8 states under the federal government social intervention program. Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Nasarawa State, says the loan is to empower Nigerian women and take them out of poverty. Joshua Ojito completes the report.
The Federal Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program (JIP) and the National Women Empowerment Program (NAWEP) are 2 key social intervention schemes designed by the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration to assist indigent and rural women so as to make them self-reliant. While women across the 36 states of the Federation will benefit from the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program (JIP), women from 8 states, including Nasarawa State, will also be the beneficiaries of the pilot scheme of National Women Empowerment Program, where 1.6 billion naira has already been earmarked for disbursements. Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development Aisha Jummai Al-Hassan said all women who completed their forms and submitted to the ministry will benefit from the loan, which is interest-free.
This time around, if you qualify to get the loan, it will be paid directly into your account. Therefore, all the problems we have had of failed programs before will no longer be there.
Starting from January next year, it will be in our budget to consider empowerment program for women and children.
During her audience with Governor Umaru Tanko Al-Mukura, the minister advocated the need for states to domesticate the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which was passed into law by the National Assembly in 2015 to protect the rights of women and other persons against violence, as well as the implementation of Child Rights Act already passed into law at both federal and state government levels. In Lafia, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Stay tuned for more stories after the break.
Hear the call of change, stand up. Nigeria, change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. So let the change begin from within. Look at you, oh Geruola. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
Great to have you back on the news on NTA International. Moving ahead now, as Nigeria gets an acting Chief Justice, there are expectations from the public, an opinion on how he should run his term. NTA's Good Morning Nigeria joined the public discourse on the task ahead and set the agenda for the new Chief Justice of Nigeria. Walter Samuel. Omotola Mojola has the details.
Guests on the program advised the new CJN to ensure the independence of the judiciary and map out strategies to ensure the quality of personalities appointed. They also suggest an overhaul of the system to rid it of corruption.
What he needs to do is to sit down and draw up a comprehensive strategic plan. A strategic plan that deals with the issue of reforms of the National Judicial Council and the State Judicial Service Commissions in terms of relevance.
The CJN has to look into the quality of the appointment of judges and then some re-education done along these lines.
Beyond fighting corruption, the next Chief Justice, who is now the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, has the onerous task of pressurizing the executive. Mr. President, sir, we need more justices of the Supreme Court.
The guests condemned what they termed social media trial of judges and emphasized proper remuneration for them to further curb corruption within the system.
Let us improve the welfare of judges, improve the chances of their living long, and also demystify election petitions, and then we will be getting our judiciary back on the top.
Issues of multiplicity of cases, time management for effective judicial process, and the complicity of the society in the corruption of the judiciary were also discussed. In Abuja, Omotola Mojola, NTA News.
Federal and state governments have been urged to create conducive environment for business to thrive in Nigeria by eliminating the bottlenecks involved in the establishment of small and medium-scale enterprises. A professor of law, Paul Idonige, made the plea at a round table at the instance of media lawyers on laws of doing business in Nigeria. Dele Atumbi reports.
Professor Paul Idonige, who is the head department of commercial law at the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, said the law is not a hindrance for business to thrive in Nigeria, but a process of funding and registration of business entities. Professor Idonige said the Land Use Act must be reviewed to favor investors. He said the ranking of Nigeria as the 124th out of 139 countries by the Global Competitive Report in the act of providing business opportunities calls for concern.
If our ranking in doing business has to be improved, we have to look at state practices, state regulations, state policies.
Professor Epiphany Azenge, who described the law as an instrument of social change, advocated a review of some of the legislations that are making business in Nigeria difficult. President of Law, Media and Social Justice Initiative, Charles Odenigo, said the program was organized in view of the economic recession facing the country and the need to create conducive atmosphere for business to cushion the effect of the economic downturn. As part of its way of bringing attention to the contribution of lawyers in the media industry, 4 media lawyers, including Femi Okewo of the NTA, were honored at the occasion. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
And up next is Olanka Ojo for reports from the world of business.
Welcome to Business News. The implementation of the Treasury Single Account by the federal government has resulted in the monthly savings of 4 billion naira in cost of funds, such as bank charges, account maintenance costs, and other imposed by deposit money banks. Introduced exactly a year ago, a total of 48 billion naira has so far been saved by the government. The Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, who confirmed the savings by the government, noted that over 900 agencies of government have complied with the initiative since it took off fully in September 2015. Fears about early resuscitation of Nigeria's economy has heightened as oil prices tumbled at the global market by more than 3% after the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, said October output reached another record of 33.64 million barrels per day. Nigeria, which largely depends on proceeds from its oil export, is currently in economic recession, having recorded negative growth rates in its gross domestic product in 2 consecutive quarters. This is reflected in drastic drop in income, employment, manufacturing, and retail sales. Before we go, a check on closing figures on the floor of Monday's equities market. And that's it on the business segment of the news. I am Olayinka Ojo.
Let's now hear Fatima Liu for stories from other parts of the world.
Congolese Prime Minister Augustin Matata Poyo resigned Monday to give way for an opposition figure to take his place following talks aimed at averting a political crisis. Reports indicate that Democratic Republic of Congo's political crisis deepened last month after presidential election, which had been due before this year's end, was postponed until April 2018. The opposition has accused Kabila, who has been in office since 2001, of manipulating the electoral system to stay in power after a second term ends in December 20. Kabila is expected to address Parliament Tuesday. Elsewhere, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has awarded key roles in his incoming team to a top Republican Party official and a right-wing media chief. Reince Priebus, chairman of the Republican National Committee, will be his chief of staff, while Mr. Stephen Bannon, who stepped aside as executive chairman of Breitbart News Network to be Mr. Trump's campaign chief, will now serve as his chief strategist. Germany is considering ordering its poultry farmers to keep their flocks indoors following an outbreak of bird flu in the country. Germany and Switzerland reported new outbreaks of severe strain of bird flu on Saturday, the latest in a series of cases across Europe. German Agriculture Minister says he will consult with 5 other countries where the H5N8 virus has been found for possible action ahead of a meeting in Brussels. Fatima Liu, NTA News.
Senate calls for utilization of funds from Lottery Commission for sports as Kenya dominates Athens Marathon. Amazi Marcus reports.
Utilization of proceeds from the National Lottery Regulatory Commission. This was the focus of the legislative oversight visit by the Senate Committee on Sports and Youth Development to the Commission in Abuja.
This is another area that if it is well managed and harnessed, it will generate a lot of money for the country.
The Czech Republic established themselves as the dominant hosts France to capture their 5th Fed Cup title in 6 years on Sunday and 10th overall. Karolina Pliskova and Barbora Strikova downed Kristina Mladenovic and Caroline Garcia 7-5, 7-5 in doubles to hand the visitors the decisive point. Kenya's Luka Rotich Lebuon won the 34th Athens Marathon on Sunday in 2 hours, 12 minutes, 49 seconds for the grueling 42-kilometer course. The 28-year-old Lebuon was followed across the line by 8 of his countrymen. The women's race was won by 30-year-old Kenyan Nancy Jebichi Arusei in a time of 3 hours, 38.13 seconds and was 18th overall. With sports update, Amanzi Marcus, NTA News.
Now a quick check on Tuesday's weather outlook in Nigeria and some cities of the world. And that concludes the news on NTA International. I am Ifeanyi Okafor. Thanks for watching.